Bill Maher thinks WNBA rookie and #1 draft pick Caitlin Clark is being targeted by other players because she's not a lesbian and she's white.
Bill Maher just revealed the real reason behind Caitlin Clark's contract in Europe, and it's exactly what many of us suspected. Clark doesn't fit into their clique, so they made her life difficult. Maher pointed out that 60% of the league is lesbian and 85% black, and Clark doesn't exactly check those boxes.
The league is very lesbian, and she's not. And there's race. There's a lot of going on.
Instead of respecting Caitlin Clark's undeniable talent, they treat her like she's just there to generate money for them. Really, WNBA? Maybe if you focused on your actual product rather than pushing some social agenda, you wouldn't be losing stars like Clark. Now, everyone's upset because she's heading to Europe, where her skills will be truly appreciated. Clark doesn't owe them anything.
Struggled with physical defense she's faced at the professional level and voiced frustration with the league's officiating, recently telling reporters, quote, "I feel like I'm getting hammered and everybody is physical with me, and opponents get away with things that other people don't get away with." That's what Caitlin Clark...
Bill Maher didn't just casually drop a bombshell about Caitlin Clark's contract. He made it crystal clear. Clark's real struggle wasn't on the court. It was about surviving in a league that didn't want her there. And no, Caitlin didn't head to Europe because of a minor contract issue or some shiny new deal. Let's be real, this wasn't about money or convenience. She left because she had to, forced into survival mode. Maher exposed the absolute chaos going on behind the scenes in the WNBA. Players and league officials seemed more focused on making sure Clark felt out of place than recognizing her as the best thing to happen to the league in years. What mattered to them was that she didn't fit into the political narrative they were trying to push.
It's natural for a megastar to come in. And people say, I'm kind of tired of hearing
it's
about
everything.
her.
It's women are catty. The league is very lesbian, and she's not. And there's race. There's a lot of going on.
The storyline is simple. Caitlin Clark didn't fit their so-called ideal mold. She's white, she's straight, and apparently in the WNBA, that's enough to paint a massive target on your back. The same league that's always shouting about inclusivity? Turns out, they couldn't handle the fact that one of their biggest stars didn't check off the boxes they were pushing. Instead of celebrating her record-breaking talent, they seemed more interested in keeping her in the shadows. Almost like they were embarrassed that she was the one dominating the headlines and driving ticket sales. And Maher? He didn't hold back. He also pointed out the racial aspect, calling out the WNBA's hypocrisy. The league, which is always preaching about equality and fairness, was the one turning its back on its biggest star because she didn't fit their right image. From day one, Caitlin was treated like an outsider. Snide comments, shady vibes from other players. It was like high school drama, but with worse sneakers. Instead of celebrating her for practically saving the league, they acted like she was an inconvenience. And things got really ugly, far beyond just unfair treatment.
Before getting body checked. This is a game the other day, and
now with 12
I mean, that was pretty deliberate. And look at the other girl on her team coming over. See, if this was men, they defend each other on their same team. I mean, men will fight from two teams, but when somebody checks you on who's on your team, you defend that guy.
Angel Reese's head slap moment didn't just grab attention for what she did. It was the whole vibe behind it that had everyone pausing, saying, wait, did she really just do that? During the 2024 regular season, when Reese faced off against Caitlin Clark, things escalated in a heated moment, with Reese slamming Caitlin in the head. The incident didn't just spark conversations about sportsmanship but also added fuel to the underlying tension between the two players, making it one of the most talked about moments of the season.
Yeah, that's right.
Is being reviewed for possible upgrade to a play game.
I think it'll be upgraded.
This wasn't your average trash talk. It felt personal, like Reese was putting her stamp on it. Some fans even called it a calculated move, almost as if she was plotting Clark's downfall right there on the court. Reese has always been that fiery, competitive player who thrives on stirring the pot, but this was different. It wasn't just banter anymore. It was the kind of shade that crawls under your skin, grabs headlines, and leaves everyone wondering what exactly was going through her head.
Can't. Angel Reese is a hater. And her whole media popularity, her whole platform is built off the back of Caitlin Clark.
And just when things couldn't get any more heated, Dejounte Carrington decided to jump into the fray. As if the drama wasn't already at its peak, during the first game of the 2024 WNBA playoffs between the Indiana Fever and the Connecticut Sun, Carrington went for an eye poke, a move straight out of a Three Stooges skit. But this time, Clark wasn't laughing. She walked away with a bruised eye and a ton of questions, while the intensity between the players reached a whole new level. The tension on the court? Through the roof.
Feel like I'm getting hammered and everybody is physical with me, and opponents get away with things that other people don't get away with. That's what Caitlin Clark.
The timing couldn't have been worse. Clark was already having a nightmare game, shooting a dreadful 4 of 17 from the field, and then Carrington added to her woes with an eye poke for good measure. Of course, Carrington was quick to dismiss it as a total accident, but let's just say the fans weren't buying that excuse. I mean, an eye poke during a playoff game? People were side-eyeing that whole situation harder than Clark herself after the incident. That both Carrington and Clark denied any malicious intent, but you could practically hear the eye rolls from everyone watching. It was one of those moments that made you wonder just how far the rivalry was escalating and what would happen next on the court.
But damn it, in the first 2 minutes of this game, this Dejanay Carrington stabbed Caitlin Clark with her fingernails right in the eye.
The timing couldn't have been worse. Clark was already struggling with a nightmarish game, shooting a dismal 4 of 17 from the field, and then Carrington compounded her struggles with an eye poke for good measure. Of course, Carrington quickly brushed it off as a total accident, but let's just say the fans weren't buying that excuse. I mean, an eye poke during a playoff game? People were side-eyeing that whole situation harder than Clark herself after the incident. Both Carrington and Clark denied any malicious intent, but you could practically hear the collective eye rolls from everyone watching. It was one of those moments that left fans questioning just how far the rivalry was escalating and what might happen next on the court.
It's been a lot of nonsense. I think in my 11-year career, I've never experienced the racial comments from the Indiana Fever fan base. We had her face on a serious matter that happened in this world, and it's unacceptable, honestly. And there's no place for it, and we've been professional throughout the whole entire thing, but I've never been called the things that I've been called on social media, and there's no place for it.
The ongoing racial controversy surrounding Caitlin Clark and her fan base has been a drama that just won't quit, and it's not just the fans fanning the flames. WNBA players like Angel Reese and Alyssa Thomas have been adding fuel to the fire too. Reese, who's had beef with Clark since their college days, has been vocal about her experiences, taking to social media and her podcast, Unapologetically Angel, to air it all out. She claimed that she's been bombarded with racist comments and threats, many of which she attributes to Clark's fans. According to Reese, those throwing shade at Clark are the real racists, using excuses to hate on her and the new fan base she has drawn. Just when you thought the tension couldn't escalate further, Alyssa Thomas jumped into the mix after the 2024 playoff series between her Connecticut Sun and Clark's Indiana Fever. She stated that she experienced more racism that season than in her entire 11-year career. This wasn't just stirring the pot, it felt like it had boiled over. But while many people support Clark because of her positive attitude and her incredible talent, she was the #1 draft pick for a reason. Thomas suggested that the playoff series against Clark's team became a racial battleground, prompting the WNBA to issue a statement condemning racism among fans. However, the damage was done. Public emotions were running high, and Clark was caught in the crossfire. Despite being the face of the league thanks to her record-breaking rookie season, her supporters were suddenly being labeled as racists. Fans criticized her fan base, saying it was filled with the wrong type of fans who tweeted mean things to Thomas. Things escalated to the point where Clark had to step up during a press conference after her team was eliminated, trying to clarify that these hateful comments weren't coming from her true supporters but from trolls. She attempted to redirect the conversation back to the positives of the game, the league, and the fans who weren't busy stirring up hate. Yet, the narrative had already taken hold, and no matter what Clark said, she and her fan base were being unfairly painted with a broad and ugly brush. Even Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin, a former Rice University basketball player, weighed in, stating, "I think it's really crazy." At the end of the day, nobody can deny that she has completely transformed fans' interest and enthusiasm for women's basketball. Bill Maher also joined the conversation, pointing out how the racial allegations had poisoned the well for Clark. Being linked to a racist fan base had become a harsh reality for her, affecting her relationships in the locker room, on the court, and even at the local grocery store. Maher didn't hold back, criticizing Reese and Thomas for turning what should have been a classic sports rivalry into an all-out racial and political battleground. He flat out called the accusations flimsy at best, yet those baseless claims somehow became woven into the fabric of the WNBA's dynamics. The reason Caitlin Clark has garnered such attention is that she is a baller, She's likable, smart, and embodies everything you look for in an athlete. She possesses qualities similar to those of Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and LeBron James. So, when Europe came knocking with an offer devoid of controversy, it must have felt like a no-brainer for her. They valued her for her basketball skills, not for how she fit into a social media narrative. This wasn't just about finding a new team or paycheck for Clark, it was about her mental well-being. The WNBA had gotten so caught up in off-court issues that it was hard to recognize the game anymore. With the WNBA season ending for many teams, numerous players are already heading overseas to play during the off-season. Given the current drama in the league alongside the low salaries, some players are questioning whether they'll even return. Maher's perspective was clear. This wasn't just a Caitlin Clark issue, it was a WNBA problem. The league should have been rolling out the red carpet for one of its biggest stars but instead allowed toxic narratives to overshadow what should have been a success story. That's why in the end Clark had no choice but to leave. Europe offered her what the WNBA couldn't: the opportunity to play the game without the extra baggage.